I had the Steam Deck for 24 hours and I tested 23 games on it. I'm Alex Vanek for Game Informer, and let's jump into it. Of course, I'm here to share those results with you, but I do want to give a big caveat. I played with the Steam Deck about a week ago, and it has since gone under many patches. This thing is coming in hot. Every day there are new patches to download. Now, with that being said, maybe some of the games that didn't run well for me will run better at launch now that it has been patched, and it's unlikely the games that ran well for me won't do the same for you. Now, some of these games are verified on Steam Deck now, but many of them are not, and that's what I really tried to prioritize. Was what games could we look at that maybe haven't been looked at by Valve yet, and see kind of what sort of performance we can expect at launch. So let's go ahead and start with number one. We're going to go in alphabetical order. The first game I tested out was Apex Legends, the Steam version. Unfortunately, the game opened and was allocated to the upper left-hand side of the Steam Deck screen. It was tiny, minuscule. The entire menu screen was minuscule. I closed the game and reopened it while holding the Steam button, and that seemed to do something on the back end where it opened in big picture mode, so that was great, but unfortunately could not connect to the Apex Legends servers. I imagine that has to do with, anti-cheat and Proton, and I assume that's something that Respawn will look into patching in the future, but at launch, Apex Legends does not run on the Steam Deck. Up next is Ark Survival Evolved, one of the most successful games in Steam history. I'm happy to say that it is playable if you load in some custom key bindings that work on the Steam Deck. It seems like it borrows from community key bindings that were uploaded for the Steam controller way back when. Those work on the Steam Deck, so that's great. And I was able to play some Ark Survival Evolved. It was definitely awkward a little bit, but it was playable on lower settings. Obviously, you're going to enjoy yourself more so on console or a higher end PC, but if you're on the couch at night watching some TV and you want to go out and farm some resources or something, it is playable. Up next is Cyberpunk 2077. With the news of the next gen update, I wanted to go and test out to see if it worked. Now, it should be said, I believe I booted this up before the actual patch came out, and it did not run. It wouldn't launch. So I would assume the next gen patch doesn't change that. I think we'll have to look for more official support in the future from Cyberpunk 2077. Dark Souls Remastered. It runs great. It feels like I'm running a beefier version of the Nintendo Switch version, which is great because it ran great on Switch. So now you kind of get some better visuals. It runs well. Controls feel great. Great marks across the board for Dark Souls Remastered. One caveat I will say is that, and this is not exclusive to Dark Souls Remastered, but I discovered the issue while playing Dark Souls Remastered, is that if you are downloading games onto the Steam Deck, it's going to tank your performance in whatever game you are playing. At first, I was like, oh no, Dark Souls, I thought this was deemed playable by Steam, but it's not working for me. It was because I was downloading games in the background, so that will majorly affect your performance. Now, this next one is surprising, and I'll tell you why. Dishonored 2 runs incredibly well. Blown away. This is one of my favorite games, but in the past, on my 2070 Super and my home PC, I've always struggled to run Dishonored 2 is in terms of optimization, right? It always seemed to be clunky and just did not run well. Whatever was going on in my home PC, it just did not mesh well with Dishonored 2. Happy to say I'm blown away by the Steam Deck's performance on Dishonored 2. I was able to crank it to high settings and still get 50 to 60 FPS. Sometimes it would dip down in the 40s, but generally it was pretty solid and ran very consistently once it settled in. Now, one thing to note, when I loaded the game in, I loaded it up, it defaulted to low settings. It looked like booty. I was like, I feel like I can get more out of this. So I cranked it, and yeah, it was awesome. So that's one thing to note if you're trying out games in the Steam Deck yourself. Maybe it loads into lower graphical settings by default. Try out the sliders. Try kind of bumping it up to medium, maybe even high, depending on the game, and you might be surprised at the results you'll get. Up next, another surprising one, not in terms of technical specs, but in terms of ergonomics, because this one requires the use of a trackpad. DOTA 2. I was surprised at how much fun I had playing this. I'm actually a big League of Legends player. I do not play Dota, but currently AMD did not officially support any Windows drivers, so I couldn't download Windows and try out other games like League. So I downloaded Dota 2, since that is, of course, a Valve game. But I had a lot of fun. I picked up a couple brawlers that were kind of more of my style of play, and managed to get a few kills in multiplayer sessions. And Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I think you're definitely not going to be queuing into ranked play in Dota 2 on your Steam Deck, but for casual matches, you know, if you're somebody who likes to play casual matches of Dota 2, I think it works great. And you are going to have to import a Steam controller setting onto your Steam Deck. There's plenty of community-made profiles. Pick one that works for you, and it's going to take some getting used to for sure. But yeah, I was surprised by Dota 2, so shout out to Dota 2. Up next, Doom Eternal. Might not be a surprise, maybe it is to you. It runs phenomenally, and this game was really a standout title for me. Actually, it was one of the last games I played, and it really highlighted the quality of the analog sticks on the Steam Deck. I have tried to play FPS games in the past on my Switch, and the results are quite disappointing, I will say. The Steam Deck has incredible analog sticks. I love it. It feels like I'm playing like on an Xbox controller or something, and I was very surprised to have that quality of analog sticks in a portable device. Feels great running Doom. Doom runs flawlessly on it. Fights in tight spaces is the next one. Now, I've never played this game before. The reviewer, Matt Miller, had already downloaded it to the device when I received it for my time with the Steam Deck. So I booted it up, tried it out. Runs really well. No notes here, other than I'm excited to play more of it. I missed it when it first came out in 2020. Final Fantasy V. Real no notes here. It runs great. Up next, this game represents the promise of the Steam Deck like no other. God of War 2018. Sure, the textures are a bit softer than the PS4 version, but I was able to play one of Sony's best games at a consistent frame rate on the go. It looks gorgeous, dude. All right, I can't explain. It was the first game I booted up on the Steam Deck. I was in a coffee shop in a corner so nobody could see what I was playing or what I was playing with, and I was blown away. Like I wish I was working at the office so I could like call people to my desk and be like, come check this out, because it was really the promise of the Steam Deck realized. Playing a game that, one, is not available in any other handheld. It's a miracle that we got it on PC, and the fact that I can play this on my portable PC, the Steam Deck, is awesome. It felt great even during big fights with, you know, trolls or you know, skeletons. Like, there was a lot of enemies on screen. Consistent frame rate. I will say this is one of the verified games from Valve, so if this points to the quality of other Steam verified games, then that bodes well, because this ran great. Now, I hate to bring down the vibes, but I tried to load up Halo Infinite multiplayer and it would not run. Now, it allowed me to download the game, but it wouldn't even open the executable. It was instant error. It pretended like it was loading up a game, and then it would go back. It would bring me back to the Steam OS home page. So bummer. I hope we get support for Halo Infinite in the future, especially those analog sticks, man. I think that'd be great. Left 4 Dead 2 runs really well. Not all of the multiplayer games I played seemed to work. There's a lot of issues with anti-cheat and games not wanting to load me into matches, but Left 4 Dead 2 worked well. The online multiplayer worked well. It was a solid overall experience. Now, this was a game I actually preferred to use the left analog stick to move and the right trackpad to aim. Just felt really good, and I was pretty blown away by the haptics, the motors behind whatever's going on the trackpad. It's almost like your finger is like tingling as you move across the trackpad, and it was a really great experience. And I feel like those haptics helped me remember where my finger is at on the trackpad, if that makes sense. Overall, Left 4 Dead 2, great experience, solid online connection, didn't have any issues loading into a game. Felt great, ran flawlessly, 60 FPS. Let's move on. This is a game that runs well, but I wish ran a bit differently, if that makes sense. Loop Hero. It is playable, runs great, you're not gonna have any issues, but I'd wait for official controller support, because while the trackpads work really well as like a fake mouse pointer, I felt like the drag and drop nature of the inventory in Loop Hero and how that is such a pivotal aspect of that game, I felt like the trackpads were too small to be conducive for that gameplay. I'd rather play on the sticks, and I didn't seem to be able to do that, at least in the version I played. Again, maybe that's been updated since I played it, but Loop Hero does run great. It's just a matter of whether you prefer to use the trackpads or if you'd like to use the analog controller. Lost Ark. One of the biggest games in Steam history. I was hoping to be able to drive, you know, my Berserker into piles of bad guys and just cause mayhem, or log into my Paladin I've been trying to level up. Does not run Lost Ark yet. unfortunately. It does let you download the game, but the game, again, like Halo Infinite, there was an executable error and it won't open. I'm sorry. Moving on to Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I don't know if this is a shocker. Game's gorgeous, obviously. Vibrant colors, rich contrast. It all pops off the screen and runs as you'd expect, which is like butter. The next game I tested was PROPNIGHT, the recently released asymmetrical multiplayer game. This is a weird one. It technically runs great. I can load into a game, right, into a lobby where other players are, and it'll let me select and try out a character, the character I'm playing. It'll let me do like almost like a pre-match run, and I will load into the game and have a solid 60 FPS buttery experience. It's gorgeous for about 5 seconds before the game kicks me back out to the menu due to a network error. So that is something going on, I imagine, with anti-cheat or something on the back end of PROPNIGHT that they need to patch to make it playable on Steam Deck. Moving on to another Valve verified game, Resident Evil 2. I had a big performance issues when I was downloading games in the background, but then I realized what was happening, because sometimes the Steam Deck, when I had my hands on time with it, even when I paused the downloads, it sometimes liked to still download things, but that's neither here nor there. Resident Evil 2 runs great. I believe I was hitting a solid 60 FPS. I played a lot of games in 24 hours, y'all. It was a whirlwind, but I believe it ran at 60 FPS. Textures were a bit softer in their out-of-the-box settings than you would see on console or a higher-end PC. Obviously, it's a Steam Deck, it's a PC. You can tweak that stuff. I'm just more so looking at the games out of the box. And yeah, Resident Evil 2 ran great. I can't wait to play this game. I've actually only played the opening hour before, and after playing Resident Evil Village last year, it was one of my top 3 games of the year last year. I cannot wait to go and play and experience Resident Evil 2 because it totally holds up on the Steam Deck. By the way, the speakers on the Steam Deck, it's like the MacBook Pro, baby. If you've had a MacBook Pro, the speakers are rad on that laptop. Same with the Steam Deck. I was surprised at how well it sounded. It was great. Unfortunately, I hate to do this, to be a Debbie Downer. Like PROPNIGHT, Rust, one of my favorite games, one of the most downloaded games of all time on Steam. It boots up and seems functional, but you can't actually connect to a multiplayer lobby. You can't connect to a server. Fortunately, Rust right now doesn't work. Hopefully we see that patched. I think that's an obvious choice for something that you could use the trackpads on to good effect for your inventory management, while you also use like more of the sticks for the rest of the gameplay. So this next game runs so well. Skater XL runs like butter. The multiplayer lobbies work, single player works. The sticks, again, when you're doing those analog stick-based tricks, kind of like a la Skater XL, feels awesome on the Steam Deck. I cannot wait. This is on the top of my list to play on Steam Deck, and I don't even play Skater XL. It was on our press account. I saw it, I downloaded it because, hey, I know that game. People like that game. It ran so well on the Steam Deck. Looks gorgeous. Feels great to play and to land tricks. This is going to be one of those on the couch games. So I'm watching, Love Island on the TV with my wife. We're going to have Skater XL going in the couch on the Steam Deck. It's going to be great. I cannot wait to get my own Steam Deck in the mail, seriously. Now, this was a big surprise. Skyrim. Had a lot of issues with Skyrim. It would run at a solid 60 frames a second, and then I noticed while on the cart in the opening section, I was like, wait a second. My game is freezing like every 5 to 10 seconds randomly, and the game would hitch like that, and it was freezing and dropping frames. It would either have a solid 60 and then it would drop to 0 frames, then it would go up to 60 again. So there's something going on with the Steam Deck. I wonder if this is going to be a game that works at launch or not. Again, this thing is coming in hot. They've been continually patching it since I had my hands on time with it. I played this about 5 days ago. February 18th is when I went hands-on with it. And since then, they've had loads of updates. So maybe that has fixed my issues that I have with Skyrim. But when I played it, I would deem it unplayable. Now, the next 3 games I tested are all beloved games, all have very engaged and devoted communities. So I'm happy to say that the next 3 games are all playable, okay? Because Team Fortress 2 runs really well on the Steam Deck. Of course, we're talking about a decades-old game. Of course, it's probably going to be, perform pretty well if they can get it up and running on the Steam Deck. It is absolutely playable. You'll probably struggle against, people that are playing on mouse and keyboard, but this is one of those games where I would have my left hand controlling movement and my right hand on the trackpad controlling my camera. And I was able to, stay somewhat competitive on this tiny little trackpad on the Steam Deck, sitting in my chair, not tied to a PC. It was a great experience. Up next is Valheim. Now, Valheim is definitely not optimized for the Steam Deck. I was barely able to hit 30 frames a second playing on low settings, turned off all motion, all that fun stuff. Just tried to get it bare bones. Let me just get this thing running. The best I could get it was hovering between like 26 and 30 FPS. Of course, when more enemies were on screen, it would drop. I would say I'm considering this playable because of the nature of the Steam Deck and the nature of Valheim. This is not going to be the main place you play Valheim, but perhaps you might need to go out and farm some wood, go get some food, harvest some stuff. I think you can accomplish that on the Steam Deck while sitting on your couch, enjoying other activities at the same time. Of course, this is not going to be, if this is your main place to play Valheim, I would say it is not playable, but as a supplementary companion to a main PC, I would consider it passable, playable. And the last game, I couldn't not test it out. The Witcher 3, happy to confirm, I ran it off an SD card, a micro SD card. Granted, it was, 175 read speed, 90 write speed, something like that. It ran so well. I was so blown away, especially after spending, we've had the Switcher for years now, the Witcher on Switch, if anybody didn't know. And the Witcher on Switch was great. As hey, wow, I can't believe they got this massive, gorgeous, open world AAA game to even run it all on a Switch. But the Switcher is not the best way to play The Witcher. You're playing in 540p. Sure, you're playing in portable, but again, you're battling those analog sticks, those toy-like analog sticks. The Witcher 3 on Steam Deck is what I wanted the Nintendo Switch version of The Witcher to be. It is portable. It runs great. I was able to run The Witcher 3 on the Steam Deck on high settings. I did not have the realistic hair effects or whatever turned on, none of that kind of stuff. But as terms of textures and lighting and all of that, on high, was able to maintain a solid 30 FPS. Of course, if you wanted to get up to 60, you would have to lower all of that stuff. And the fact that I can pick up my old PC save and play that on Steam Deck and go vice versa. If I want to set up my computer, I can do that. If I want to take it on the go, I can do that. And then I can cloud sync my saves and pick up where I left off. The Steam Deck is awesome. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful to you. If you have any questions about the Steam Deck, feel free to hit me up on social media at itsvanaken. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to click the like button, subscribe if you're new around here, and leave a comment down below letting me know which games you're looking forward to playing first on the Steam Deck. As always, stay tuned to youtube.com/GameInformer. We've got other Steam Deck videos coming, including a review and a feature about comparing it to the Switch. So stay tuned for that. And of course, GameInformer.com for all the latest news, previews, reviews, features on your favorite upcoming and past games. Bye.